Hello and welcome to Larp. Today I'm going to show you how to make and use a, let's say, ambient fire kit that can be used in Larp, reenactment, or just for general camping and outdoorsmanship. It comes in a waxed, waterproof leather bag, and it has all the tools and materials in it you need to start a fire. So, if this is something that interests you, like and subscribe, and I'll show you exactly how I made this. Okay, let's do this quickly. This is basically another leather pouch, like in my video last week about more pouches. So I've got 1 to 1.5 millimeter thin cattle leather. I bought some leftovers from an upholstery, I think, kilogram on eBay. So this is pretty cheap leftover leather, but it's good enough to make pouches from. I'm cutting out a round piece and a rectangle that has one side that is as wide as the circumference of the round piece. This is the first deviation. I'm sewing on a piece of leather string to the side here because I want to tie a toggle to it, but I will do a roll up closing system like my dry bag, and that means I can't hang the toggle just from the string that pulls the top close. I need an extra string, so I'm just sewing that to the side using leather needle and leather yarn. At the sewing machine, I start with sewing on the bottom piece, and the whole thing is sewn together inside out. Then I trim up the axis of the side piece, never get that to fit just right. Now I will fold over this seam once and sew it down once again. This will create a stronger and, most importantly, tighter seam that won't leak water through. Like this. And now it's time to sew the side closed and do the whole folding over thing once more. This gives me nice clean seams all around, and it's time to pull this outside out. And then it's back to the work table. To close this, I will do a roll up closing system, let's say, just like with my dry bags I made a few weeks back. And for that I'm sewing another piece of leather string onto the top of this, just over half of the top. I'm not sewing the top close to anything, and I'm once again using leather needle and leather thread. And after trying to roll this up and close this, I notice this piece of the seam on the top here is a bit fat, let's say. It is in the way of rolling this up properly. But now it works. You can roll this up, so this creates a watertight seal. And then tie the string together, and this keeps the pouch closed. And since this is leather and you could oil this up and wax this up, but I can do one better, so I'm once more pulling it inside out. And I'm heating up some beeswax. And while this is heating up, I'm preparing the toggle. So I've got a piece of hazel here, about hands wide. Drill 2 holes into it, clean it up a bit, make it look a bit nicer. And this will become the toggle to loop it around my belt. Now that the wax is molten, I pour it inside of the bag and I pour it out, and I do that several times so I can cover all of the side of the bag with wax as well as the bottom. Make sure the wax goes everywhere, especially into the seams. Once you've done that, pour out as much as possible and pull it back outside out. Then I'm using a hot air gun and I try to blow off as much excess wax as I can. Basically, this is just to get it look nice and smooth. This has nothing to do with the actual function of the bag. It's good and watertight after pouring the wax in and out of this thing. And once I'm satisfied with the look of it, get it smooth as I can, I just set it to the side to let it cool down. To finish the bag, I fiddle the leather string through my toggle, make sure there's enough room to loop it across my belt, and then I fasten it with 2 knots. With the bag finished, it's time to fill it up. My number 1 fire starting material is just plain old natural cotton wool. I compact it a bit, I can fluff this up when I need it and put it in the bag. What you can also do, you can take a bit of Vaseline and work it into the cotton wool. It will catch sparks worse, but it will burn for longer. So this way it can be used as kindling even. Just work this into the wool and in it goes. Now you can use dryer lint, same as the cotton wool. As it is, compact it a bit, put it in your bag or work in some Vaseline. But it's worse in all regards to the cotton wool. So this is my second choice. If you're looking for something a bit more historic, there's a mushroom, a tinder mushroom, that can be dried and processed into a very fluffy fibrous material that will catch sparks very well. Also, I'm told, I've never actually done that, and I didn't want to spend a lot of money to procure that just to be historically accurate. You could also use cones of reed. These can be again dried, processed, and supposedly catch spark very well. And the final possibility that I am aware of is char cloth. This is usually cotton cloth that is charred over the heat of fire in a container where it can't get enough air to burn, so it just chars, like charcoal for example. Supposedly this takes sparks very well, and depending on the character you are portraying, this might even be historically accurate. To start the actual fire, my number one choice is a simple gas lighter. This makes it super convenient to start the fire, so in it goes. My second choice that I'm taking here from my old fire kit is a ferrocerium rod. This can be scraped with any sharp corner, knife for example, and this will produce a very hot spark that will easily ignite your tinder material. Last but not least, I have flint and steel. The flint is used to strike sparks from the steel, not the other way around, so you need high carbon steel. Some knives can be used, but it's easier, more convenient, and you won't damage your knife if you have a specialized sparker like these. The ferrocerium rod and flint and steel can be found on Amazon or eBay and auto shop for example. Flint and steel more like in a medieval shop. But with flint and steel it's actually hardest to start a fire. So I'll only be using the actual flint and steel if I really want to get into character or if I want to show off. I've never actually seen anyone use flint and steel on a Larp to make fire, but I think this could be a nice show, so I will try. As you can see, it takes quite a bit of force and also skill to strike sparks with flint and steel. It's much harder to use than the ferrocerium rod and of course the lighter. But in it goes. This completes the fire kit. You can always put additional stuff in there. There's a fairly large fire kit, and if you're wandering around, be on the lookout for tinder material, like dried grass or dry pine cones for example. For now, let me show you how to use this. To get a proper fire burning, you need dry wood, and you need to process your wood basically into 3 sizes. You want small twig-sized pieces that can easily be broken by hand, and you want about a handful of this. Then you want some medium-sized pieces, about as much as the tiny pieces that can be broken by hand, but it's a bit tougher. And finally the large pieces that are too hefty to be broken by hand. You need all 3 types. On pretty much any Larp location in Germany, you need a fireball such as this to keep the ground from burning too badly. And I like to sort my wood pieces by size before I start building the fire. If you don't have enough tinder material, like really small twigs, dried grass or pine cones or something like that, you got to have to make some yourself. So I'm shaving off some wood from the wood I just processed and make a small pile of wood shavings. Only now do I take out the actual fire kit, and it's easy to do so because it's only held by my toggle on belt. I'm taking out some of the cotton with the Vaseline in it and the flint and steel to try this out first. I have seen videos on how to do this. You hold your tinder material above your flint and then you strike, and the sparks will fly up into the tinder material, and it hopefully will catch a spark you can then blow into a flame. But actually it was really hard to do, especially with the Vaseline drenched cotton that didn't really catch the sparks. It caught the sparks, but it immediately smothered them, so that was no use for this application. Then I tried just the cotton wool, which caught the sparks better, but still I couldn't get a solid nest of like glowing embers I could blow into a live flame. I'm probably still doing it wrong. Maybe my tinder material is not good enough. So I will keep working on this, keep trying. For now, for the sake of making this video, after about 5 minutes, I finally gave up. Ended up using the ferro rod, which I've got more experience with. Hold your knife into place and use the backside, or if the backside is not sharp enough, not angled enough, use the edge or use the striker that comes with the ferro rod, and then draw the ferro rod while holding the knife in place, and it creates a shower of sparks that will easily ignite the cotton wool and the Vaseline drenched cotton wool. And from there you can build up your fire, starting with the smallest sticks, then going up. What you don't want to do is putting the sticks onto your flaming tinder, building something like a tent. That way you will only end up actually smothering the flame. The flame needs air to breathe. What you instead want to do is build like a square tower, a lattice work of sticks right around the flame. So it works a bit like a chimney, and the flame can draw plenty of air from all sides and ignite the sticks from the inside. And once the small sticks have caught on fire well, you use your medium-sized sticks and continue building. And finally, when that is burning well, you can take your biggest pieces and just throw it on there. By this point, the fire is on and shouldn't be smothered so easily. And this is basically how to use a fire kit. So I wish you have fun at your campfire. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.